I'm actually taking the questions simultaneously because I feel that if I'll take the questions at the last, then sometimes it happens that there are very important concepts, and when we discuss them at the last, then participants, they lose interest, and I don't want that. I want that the interest should continue. So I think my style is to take the questions simultaneously, and I'll be doing that only, so that the participants are interested, they remain interested during the entire session. Okay. One more question that somebody has asked, that whether we are going to do practical today or tomorrow. As per our plan, we will be doing practicals tomorrow. Today, we would be discussing about specifically about reliability as well as validity. We have discussed majorly the concepts of reliability. We have discussed. Some of them are left, like Cronbach alpha and Kudar Richardson estimate. Those we will be discussing today, and followed by validity. Yes, Anjum, even I want to be bilingual. पर हमारे साथ बहुत से ऐसे participants हैं जो southern India से जुड़े हुए हैं, and if I'll speak in Hindi, the participants would be having problem. तो इस वजह से हमें थोड़ा सा इंग्लिश पे ज्यादा करना है, वरना मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हिंदी से बेहतरीन लैंग्वेज कोई है नहीं, या अपनी मातृभाषा से बेहतरीन लैंग्वेज कोई नहीं होती, क्योंकि आप जितना एक्सप्रेसिव उसमें हो सकते हैं, आप दूसरी भाषाओं में नहीं हो सकते. पर अनफॉर्चुनेटली we have to stick to a language that is understood by everybody, right? uh, when you take the question simultaneously, answers get registered in the brain, otherwise at last we face difficulties. Yes, Rigzin, I agree. So let us continue with what we were discussing yesterday. Yesterday, we had discussed about reliability and internal consistency measures. So, a quick revision. We started from, just a second. We started from the need and why do we want to assess the quality of a tool. Then we moved to various steps that are required for assessing the reliability and validity of a tool. Then we had also discussed about the errors in research. Uh, I am not sure that how many of you have actually read this paper, कल से लेके आज तक, or even downloaded this paper. But नहीं किया है, तो maybe you were enjoying your weekend and you can do it tomorrow. But whenever you do get time, please read this paper. It has details on errors in research. Then we have errors in measurements. I had discussed about some random errors, gross errors, systematic. And then we started about reliability, how reliability and validity are related to each other. Different aspects of reliability, where we had discussed about equivalence, stability, and homogeneity. We started with equivalence, that is external consistency or external reliability, where we had discussed about test retest, where many of you had asked questions about the time and how much should be the distance. So we had discussed about that. Then after test retest, we had discussed about parallel forms reliability, which means that we are comparing two different, we are actually using two different methods of data collection, primary, secondary, or secondary, and so on. Then we had some internal consistency procedures. In the internal consistency procedures, हमने start किया था from split half reliability. As I said that in split half, we randomly divide our questionnaire into two sections, and after that we note down the responses, and then we try to calculate the correlation coefficient. Okay, that division of the questionnaire has to be completely at random. Now, just in case the questionnaire is short and there is a problem with randomly dividing it, there was a Spearman's Brown's formula that we had discussed, where we can correct the It's actually a formula for correction for correlation coefficient. So we had discussed that also. Now coming to a new method to estimate internal consistency, which is known as Kudar-Richardson estimate of reliability, or KR20. Now yesterday, if I remember, मैं बाद में थोड़ा देख रही थी तो मुझे याद आया that any one of the participant yesterday had asked that what if our data is nominal, or what if our data is binary, then can we calculate any method of estimation, or like, sorry, then can we estimate the reliability? Yes, this is a method which is known as KR estimate of reliability. So we call it as KR20. The reason why we call it as KR20, because this is formula number 20. The researchers kept on creating formulas and then there were some errors. They had created, both of these statisticians have done immense work in the field of reliability. So they created several formulas, but finally KR number 20 is the formula that is used. This is basically used to estimate reliability or internal consistency when you have a binary data. I hope everybody in the class here understands what is a binary data. Binary or nominal means yes, no. Okay. Binary or nominal means that there are two categories to the responses. So in case if you have two categories, then we use this formula. I am not very sure if this formula, if this method is present in SPSS or not, because I have been using SPSS version 25 and there we don't have this formula present. So I am not sure, maybe in the latest version of SPSS software, that is 31 or 30, recently we are using 30 version, I think. Last year in 2024, September or October, the 30 version of SPSS software has been launched. So probably in the latest version, maybe they have incorporated KR20, but we in our class calculate it manually. That is why I have given the formula here. Maybe you all can Google it later to check that in which software it is available, if in case you want to do it using the software. The formula is extremely simple. That is why I have written it here. Probably today is a statistics day also. So my lecture should look like a statistics lecture. So it should at least have one formula for that matter, right? So that you should feel that you are studying statistics. But anyways, jokes apart, this is a very simple formula. N means the number of items. Number of items means number of items means like how many questions are there in your questionnaire. Okay, so N means that. Then P means proportion that is correct. Actually, correct means that suppose you know that this answer happens to be a correct answer and the other one happens to be a wrong answer. Wrong means it is like not fulfilling your study objective. Wrong doesn't mean wrong. Wrong means it is not catering to your study objective. Okay, so hum aise we classify it as correct and wrong. So P is the proportion that is correct, Q is the proportion that is wrong, and then sigma square is the variance which is calculated from the data, and N is the number of items that are present in your tool. Number of questions. Okay, so using this KR20 formula, we can calculate the index of reliability. And just keep in your mind, this is only used when we have data in the form of 0 and 1. That is binary nominal, categorical. Okay. Now, somebody has asked this question that how to do it for Likert scale variable. We use Cronbach alpha, which is a standard method to check reliability, to estimate reliability. And here we can do it on questions which are on an ordinal scale. We can do it on questions which are on continuous scale. So you can use both type of questions here. There is no fixed rule. You can do it for ordinal scale variables. You can do it for continuous scale. Like Likert means ordinal scale variable. Okay. It is a standard way to calculate the coefficient of to estimate reliability. The value lies between 0 and 1 always. If it is near to 1, we say that the tool has high reliability. And if it is near to 0, we say that tool has low reliability. Now, near to 1 means obviously somewhere between 0.8 and zero point 0.9. But in real life, what happens is it is difficult to have values near 1. So we do take a cutoff. Normally, the cutoff is taken to be 0.7. If the value of Cronbach alpha is greater than 0.7, we say that our test is reliable. But if it is less than 0.7, we say that the reliability is poor or reliability is low. Somebody is saying that I'm not audible. Am I audible to everybody? I think I'm audible. Dr. Pooja, please check your network once. Okay, we do have some more questions. So let me take those questions. Tomorrow, when we do this in SPSS, then I will show you how to calculate Cronbach alpha. Now, before I take the questions, let me discuss one thing. Many a times when we come across research papers or researches, then we see that getting a coefficient value equal to zero point 0.7 is difficult. Sometimes we get a reliability as 0 0.6, 0 0.5, and still we go ahead with the questionnaire. Can anybody tell me what is the reason? I'll answer your question, Mr. Tausif. Just give me a minute. Let me first ask this question. Sometimes we do get reliability as 0 0.5, 0 0.6, but still we go ahead with the questionnaire. Can anybody tell me the reason why? I think that will partly answer your question, Mr. Tausif. Can anybody answer this question that I'm asking? Okay, I'll answer. What happens is that there are certain concepts, certain abstract concepts, which is actually very difficult to measure. In that case, the reliability comes out to be low. It will be low. You understand? Because these are the concepts which are, it is not easy to measure these concepts. And since it is not easy to measure the concepts, that is why if your reliability is low, even then you go ahead. Now, how to decide that what value is low and what is high? It depends on the previous researches that have been done using the same topic. Suppose we are measuring happiness and there have been several scales that have been created and those scales have reliability as high as 0.9. Means happiness is a concept which can be measured. So in that case, suppose if you have another literature that has high reliability, in that case, you cannot go with something that is 0.5 or zero point 0.6. But where you have other researches that have reported low reliability coefficient, you can go ahead with low reliability coefficient as well. Okay, but generally the cutoff happens to be 0.7. I hope it is clear. Now let me take some of the questions. How to check for open-ended questionnaire like questionnaire testing problem solving abilities in mathematics. Actually, for open-ended questionnaire, I would like to say that there is no fixed rule by which you can check, but when you sort of see the answers, you at least have an idea about the kind of questions that were asked. By seeing the responses, maybe you can get an answer. Okay. Then I have a question from Mohammed Junaid that says, would we discuss to choose number of samples and selecting type of sampling also for questionnaire in these sessions? That is not as per the plan, but suppose we do have time tomorrow, I can discuss few sampling techniques with you all. Okay. Sample size is not a part, but yes, we can discuss sampling techniques. I think we have taken the questions now, so let me go ahead. So Cronbach alpha, as I discussed, is one of the prominent ways to check for internal consistency. As I said, the value lies between 0 to 1, but sometimes it is difficult to have a value near 1, so cutoff, we take it as 0.7. Again, even if it is not coming 0.7, but if you find other literatures, you can go ahead with that. We have a question from Miss Devangini. We have created a questionnaire on attitude to practice medicine. However, reliability is low to 0.46. We can consider. No, I don't think practicing attitude to practicing medicine will have reliability high. It's a knowledge, attitude, practice section. So I'm definitely sure attitude part is going to have high reliability anyways. Because when you have to measure the attitude of a person, it is not that abstract. So maybe you can add some more questions to your data, or maybe you can remove those questions that you feel are redundant. One way to increase reliability is, many times people come to me and ask that we have low reliability, how can we increase it? Many a times we have this question. So one way to increase your reliability of your tool is, maybe your tool has many redundant questions, many repeated questions. And then whenever you ask many repeated questions, the responders, they tend to lose interest in responding. And anyways, if your questionnaire is too long, anyways participants or responders are not going to respond in a consistent manner. So make sure that your questionnaire is not too long, and in case your reliability is low, you can remove certain questions which you feel are not contributing. Actually, when I will show you how to do it using SPSS software, I will also show you a method in that analysis on how to increase your reliability. It is very beautifully constructed in the software. I'll show you that also, so that will also help you people in increasing your reliability. Okay. We have a question from Kismat Qureshi that says, in order to check for P using KP20, do we need to check single observation answer or any other way? Because for every individual, P will vary. It's the proportion. It is the total proportion, like out of 100, how many of them have given correct and how many of them have given wrong. It is not for individual, okay? It will be for the total sample size. If the concept is abstract, yes, Rigzin, you can take 0.5, 0.6. Then we have a question from Kinsey Thomas. For risk assessment, how to assume it as correct and wrong. Risk factor present means correct. Is it? No. Actually, for risk assessment, it is advisable to not use KR20 and use Cronbach alpha. Because how will you decide that it is correct or wrong? Whenever you have a difficulty in deciding correct or wrong, please go for other methods of reliability. Okay. We have a question from Rashi. Can we design statements in a questionnaire in both English and Hindi language in the same tool? If yes, then we have to calculate reliability of tool in one or separately for both languages. You have to calculate reliability separately for both languages, Rashi. I think this I had discussed even yesterday also. As I said that whenever we have a translation to a questionnaire, that also that also involves testing for reliability, because translation often adds something to your questionnaire, the way of asking questions. So even if you are translating, you have to um, do the reliability testing. Okay. So Kismat is asking that what do you understand? What do you mean by concept is abstract? Concept is abstract means it is difficult to study that concept. Happiness, depression, anxiety, contentment, satisfaction, they are not very easy. It's not very simple to study these concepts. You understand? तो कभी कभी कुछ बहुत डिफिकल्टी हो जाती है किसी को समझने में, अनएक्सप्लेन्ड बहुत सी चीजें रह जाती है. That is known as abstract. Okay, thanks. So Dr. Preeti has a question. What should be the standard number of questions in a questionnaire? I do understand that it depends on the type of research, but still for practical execution, what should be the maximum number? It's again extremely difficult to answer. I cannot say 10, I cannot say 20, because again, it depends on your research and only on your research. Sometimes a question is answered just by 2 or 3 questions, and sometimes it is difficult. Now, Rashi is asking a very, very relevant question. Making tool in bilingual languages is right or not? Actually, recently, we have got a project. I mean, I won't say recently, but yes, partly recently. I'll share my example. We got a project in University of Lucknow. I was the part of the team, and we got a project from Ministry of Urban Development, and that was on Mahakumbh, the Mahakumbh that happened in Prayagraj earlier this year. There I had got a project, and it was on. So we the our project was basically on divided into 2 sections. One section of the project was how is the workforce management. Like we have several teams: the electricity, the water, the fire, the grounds, cleaning. What is the workforce management and how are they planning such a massive scale event? And the second part was related with the tourists. What is their satisfaction and what are their perceptions regarding the Mahakumbh 2025? Now, to study that project, I mean, you understand, it is extremely difficult that we just design a questionnaire in one simple language. We have designed the questionnaire in 3, 4 languages, depending on the crowd, because there were foreigners, there were people from extremely, extremely rural background. We had people from South, we had people from Western parts of India. So we had designed our questionnaire in multiple languages. You understand? So it is like it depends on your study. Sometimes you don't have a choice but to design a multilingual questionnaire. And in case you are doing it, make sure you are adding for the reliability as well as validity. Okay. I can see participants are answering the questions on their own. Very good. Wonderful. So I don't have to answer the question now. If you have to pick one, which internal reliability test is the best? Actually, again, it's very difficult to decide which is the best. But I would say that conventionally, the more popular one is Cronbach Alpha. I am sure many of you must have seen papers where Cronbach alpha is used. Okay, coming to the next. Now, yesterday somebody was asking that can you please explain Cohen's kappa? Right? Yesterday somebody has asked. It is actually used to measure inter-rater reliability. Now, can anybody give me an example of inter-rater reliability? You people keep on asking me examples. Now I'm happy to ask a question to you all. Checklist? No. I think you've not understood the question, Sophia. What do we mean by inter-rater reliability? You can read my slides. In the meantime, I'll have a glass of water and you can read my slides. Very nice. Now, suppose I have to give rating to all of you who are attending my class. Very nice answer, Mahima. Excellent. This is where inter-rater reliability or Cohen's kappa is widely used. Excellent answer, Mahima. Okay, coming back to what I was explaining. Suppose if I have to give rating to all the participants, suppose I have to give rating. Who was the one who was responsive enough, who was the one who was not responding. There were some participants who didn't even ask a single question. Suppose I have to give rating to all of you, and simultaneously Dr. Dharmendra has to also give rating to all of you. Somebody else, like some other, like suppose this workshop had been taken by two resource persons, then I had to give rating and somebody else has to also give the rating. How much is the agreement between the two raters? This is known as inter-rater agreement or inter-rater reliability. There are two rules, two very basic rules when we go in with this method of inter-rater reliability. Rule number one is that the participants have to be exactly the same. Suppose I am rating 130 participants, the other resource person has to also rate same 130 participants. That is one. And the second rule is the rating method has to be the same. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be A, B, C, D. Okay. Rating method has to be exactly the same with same number of categories. This is done to actually find out how much is the agreement between the raters. You understand how much is the agreement between the raters. Now, just as Mahima said, she had given an example of an X-ray. That is also an example where two doctors, they have say, X-ray reports of 50 patients. Both of them have taken the X-rays, or suppose there is one single report also, and independently both the doctors are assessing. So that is also a method by which we can find out how much is the agreement between the two doctors. Now, one more use of Cohen's kappa, especially with medical science, since we have many participants here that are related with epidemiology, biostatistics, and medical sciences. So here I would like to state that suppose if there is a machine, say MRI machine, that happens to, find out that whether your brain has a tumor or not. Okay, there's an MRI machine that is supposed to be a gold standard machine to sort of find out that whether there is a tumor or not. Suppose if a pharmaceutical company or a diagnostic firm comes out with another technique that is cheaper as compared to the MRI machine, that has lesser hassles, it is easily available, and has lesser side effects too, and claims that it is as efficient as an MRI machine in diagnosing that whether an individual has tumor or not. There also Cohen's kappa is widely used. That suppose you have you're understanding, suppose you have a gold standard and there's a new thing that comes up, and you have to see that how agree are the two, like how much is the agreement between the two techniques. There also we use Cohen's kappa. It is widely used there. And it happens to be one of the most reliable methods. Okay. The only condition is same patients have to go through two machines at the same point of time. Same point of time doesn't actually mean that today only. They can have a tumor screening today and maybe 2 days, 3 days later, but they have to go through the same machine, same patients, and two different machines. And the grading of tumor also has to be exactly same. So there we use inter-rater agreement or Cohen's kappa. I hope the use is clear. Tomorrow we'll take up a data and I'll try to show this to you on SPSS. Now Smita has asked a question, can we use here Spearman's correlation coefficient? No. Correlation is something very different. You understand? The data for correlation is different. And data here for kappa is different. Yes, Dr. Anupama, wonderful question. There is a similarity between Cohen's kappa and ROC curve. ROC curve also helps you in trying to find out whether a diagnostic criteria is good or not. So yes, we do use both of them together in a research paper. Yes. Devangini has a question. In medical follow-up, we have certain parameters to assess the response to treatment. They are not standardized. So should we do a reliability check? Yes. You should definitely go in for a reliability test. We have a question from Hitesh that says how it will be used for quality of the tool. The agreement between two raters will be evaluated in the end of the study. Actually, agreement could not be like agreement between two raters could not be directly related to quality. But yes, suppose you have a new machine, that is definitely related to the quality. Okay. So yes, I won't say that it is directly related to the reliability or quality of the tool, but yes, it is definitely related to the reliability of your study. You understand, Hitesh? I think that's all for the questions. So we should go to the next. I hope everybody is clear with Cohen's kappa. The range for Cohen's kappa is also 0 to 1. But yes, there is no fixed rule here also. is still greater than 0.7, we can go for kappa and say that there is a high agreement. There's a question from Jinsi which says, since we cannot take correct and wrong from a risk assessment tool, we should prefer Conrank Alpha, but there is no scoring. Could you please clarify? I am not very sure about the risk assessment tool, Jinsi. I'll have to see what are the kind of data. Even if we don't have a scoring, still we can use Cronbach Alpha. At least you would be having some like ordinal scale. So if not ordinal, if not correct wrong, then what kind of data you have? I'll have to see that tool. Okay. Now this was all about reliability of a tool. Coming to the next part, which happens to be, as I said yesterday, the more serious one. As you can see, it is written at the end of the slide. Validity requires that an instrument is reliable, but an instrument can be reliable without it being valid. So it is important for an instrument to be valid. Okay, and what is validity? Validity clearly means that instrument is measuring what it intends to measure. इंटेलिजेंट मेजर करना है आपको इंटेलिजेंस, तो वो इंटेलिजेंस ही मेजर करेगा. आपको हैप्पीनेस करना है तो इट विल ट्राई टू कैप्चर हैप्पीनेस. Okay, so whether it is justifying to what it actually has to do, this is known as validity. These are some of the examples, so I don't think that we should focus much on the theory part. We have had lot of discussions. These are the abstract concepts which you can see: burden of illness, patient satisfaction, health literacy, quality of life, quality of patient communication. All these are areas where you can use validity as well as reliability. Now, this is basically actually a summary slide, I would say. These are different types of validity that we intend to cover today. Actually, this section contains a summary of all the types of validity that are available. Now, somebody would ask which is more important, which is not. Every type of validity is important. So we will discuss in detail, and we start with face validity. What do you actually mean by face validity? Actually, what is face? Whenever we look at the face of a person, that is definitely the first thing which we notice about a person. Even if we have not heard the voice, even if we don't know the qualifications of an individual, even if we don't know anything about the individual, just by looking at the face, appearance, yes, just by looking at the face of an individual, or I would say the appearance of an individual, quickly we judge about an individual. That is with each and every one of us. How a person is carrying himself, how a person is walking, sitting, talking. Forget about talking, just looking. This exactly is what we mean by face validity. Just by looking at a questionnaire, you understand, just by looking at a tool, how does it appear? Whether it appears that it will actually measure what it is intending to measure, or does it look like that it is superficially going to measure and not taking the detailed responses. This is known as face validity. Now, how do we actually, face validity is a very subjective concept. You understand? Suppose if my friend has designed a questionnaire, okay, what happens is that face validity is actually a first step to establish validity. Normally, when we read a research paper, standard research, like standard articles I'm talking about, when we read them, we see that it is written face validity was established, content validity was established, and lastly, it is written construct validity was established. Actually, when we see this, the last one, construct and criterion related, these two validities are actually the most important ones. And here also, I would say construct validity is the most important one. Face and content validity are something which will which can augment your study finding. You understand? Augmenting your study finding means they can act as a support. So if you write in your research paper that your tool has undergone face validity, it will add weight to your study findings. The person who will review the article would know that you have good idea about validity and reliability, and you seem to have done extensive validation exercises. That's all. It gives a good impression. So what happens in case of face validity? Basically, suppose my friend has designed a questionnaire and I happen to be an expert in that area. Suppose the questionnaire is related to assessing the happiness quotient. And suppose my specialization is psychology and I am good at all these things. So he has given me that questionnaire, and I, being an expert in that area, will blindly scrutinize the questionnaire. Blindly scrutinize the questionnaire means I will just have an idea about the responses, sorry, about the questions. I look at the questions, and since I will feel, I mean, by looking at the questionnaire, if I feel that it has enough questions to answer the concept of happiness or to address this concept of happiness, I'll say that it has high face validity. That's all. So this actually means that it is subjective. Suppose if the questionnaire is given to somebody who dislikes the one who has created the questionnaire, then he or she would definitely give a bad review about the questionnaire. So you cannot blindly trust on this type of validity, but yes, it will add a value to your statistical calculation. It's a subjective opinion, but it will add value. That is why if you see the last line of this slide, it is written that it is the least scientific method as it is not quantified using statistical method. Until unless you have a quantified tool, it is not becoming trustworthy. So you cannot quantify it. That's why it is less scientific and subjective. But yes, it is used to establish validity. Okay. Now, there is a question from Mahima that says, stress scale, we can use face validity? Yes, you can. You can use it for any type of scale. Okay. Now, although face and content validation, here actually we are discussing both face as well as content validation. Although face and content validation of a measurement is judgmental, the criteria for judgment is different. Actually, content is different than face validity. How it is different? If you read the second point, it is written, while the belonging of each item to the concept being measured is to be determined in the evaluation of face validity, content validation determines whether any left out item should be included in the measurement for its representativeness of the concept. Content validity is actually more detailed. Face just sees the face value, that whether all the things which are mentioned are actually related to the concept or not. But content validity is one step ahead. Content validity means that whether the questionnaire is exhaustive or not. You understand what is exhaustive? Exhaustive means whether it is covering all the aspects that have to be related with stress or that have to be related with happiness. And suppose if it is leaving any concept, like a part is missing, then how relevant is that part? You understand? So I would say content is one step ahead of face validation. So in nutshell or in summary, I can say that if your tool has both face as well as content validation to begin with, actually these are the things which are, just perfect. If all the reliability has been established, face, content, and construct validity has been established, है ना? If all these things are done, then no reviewer, no editor can reject your paper, and you can go ahead with even patenting your tool. You understand? This is the ideal situation. So if people have time, if they have I would say if they have bandwidth, if they have money, because every reviewer, every expert, if you give your tool to them for face and content validity, they charge heavily for that. It's not free of cost. All these exercises are not free of cost. Why would anybody do that for free? Right? So if a person has money, if it's a good project funded by a good agency, if they have time, these are some of the good practices that should be adhered to. If you see the last point, actually in all my slides, the points which I've written at the last or maybe bold, they are kind of take home messages for each part. So if you can see the summary, it says if the test is known to have content, face can be assumed, but face does not ensure content. You understand? So at least you should go for content if one, and if both, then you should go for face and content both. Dr. Anupama has a very good question that says, can content be scientifically proven? Yes. It does not have a quantitative way. I mean, we cannot give it like an index, just as we have given for Cronbach alpha or Kudar Richardson, something like that. ऐसा नहीं होता. We cannot give it that ways. But yes, there is a scientific way to check for the contents. इसका एक format होता है. There is a format which like an expert has to fill. An expert has to tick mark or maybe cross. If you go through Google, you will get many forms where content validation is established. So yes, it is scientific, but I would say not quantifiable. Okay, I hope I'm clear, Dr. Anupama. Content validity, we have already had lot of discussion about that. It is also known as logical validity. Actually, as I said, it is non-statistical because you cannot quantify it, but yes, it is scientific. Yes, Dr. Nukma, you've said you have seen such a form. These forms are readily available. You can check on Google, you will get to know those forms. So it is a very well constructed way by which you can check that whether the contents are they are a part of your tool or not. And yesterday somebody was asking a question that suppose a tool has 3 sections. So for all the 3 sections separately, you don't need to establish content validity. For overall tool, you can establish a content validity, but there has to be a form that has to be properly filled by the reviewers. Okay. And as you can see the summary, it is written that it is a non-statistical type of validity with involvement of assessment of the content to the test to ascertain whether it includes the sample representative of the behavior that is intended to be measured. Okay, I hope this is clear to everybody. Content and face validity. If it is clear, then we can move to the next one. These are some of the points about content validity. I'm not discussing them in detail. They are not very important. Yes. Now we move to a very important type of validity, which is criterion related validity. Actually, if you see the first slide, then here it is written, just a second. Face, content, and criterion related validity. Criterion has two parts, concurrent and predictive. And this is known as IV. Criterion related validity is known as instrumental validity. So many times, if you if you would have come across research papers, there you would see that it is written IV. Actually, it is not nowadays, especially, it is not called criterion related. In the theory, it is written criterion related, but nowadays people refer to it as IV, instrumental validity. Now, here in this slide, it is written, it is explained concurrent as well as predictive. Can anybody read it and explain it to me with the help of an example? Very quickly, you can write it in the chat. The lines are self-explanatory. I want you people to read it and let me know. Mohammad Junaid Khan, here IV doesn't mean independent variable. Here IV means instrumental validity. But yes, of course, we normally call independent variables as IV. So yes, it can create confusion. Yes, anybody? What is the difference between concurrent and predictive? And what is criterion related validity? Comparing with a gold standard. Wonderful one-line answer. Dr. Rahul. New screening tool for diabetes mellitus risk is compared with actual RBS is random blood sugar, if I'm not wrong. I think we biostatisticians normally become half doctor. If half doctor not, I would say 25% doctor. New screening tool for diabetes mellitus risk is compared with actual RBS result. Yes. And now the answers that you people are giving is mostly related to quantitative data. And I understand why we are having quantitative answers, because we have people from science background. But I would appreciate if somebody from social science could also answer. Uh, if I create a personality assessment, my criterion validity can be MMPI. अब ये MMPI क्या है श्रुति? I have no idea what is MMPI. मुझे अभी इतना साइकोलॉजी वगैरह नहीं आया है. Okay, I think you people have sort of understood. Read the self-made personality test. Okay, now I think we have answers. When any standard test on personality is compared with prepared self-made personality test. Yes, Rashi. I have seen the full form of MMPI, but वो भी नहीं समझ में आया. कोई बात नहीं. Let me explain what I've understood. Actually, criterion related validity, if you see the name itself, this means that actually whenever we study a qualitative concept, as I have been telling you that there are several items, or I would say several criterion, which are used to study a concept. You understand? We cannot just ask or measure happiness in one single question. Or suppose a person is depressed, then there has to be sections of the questionnaire. What is your eating cycle? What is your sleeping cycle? How, what is your social status? Social status means how well you are with meeting people, going out. There has to be several criterion. So criterion related validity means that suppose there is another tool that happens to measure the same theoretical construct, how well is your tool with respect to the criterion matching to the gold standard one? And sometimes it is not possible to have a gold standard tool. So in case you don't have a gold standard tool, in that case also, in case you don't have a gold standard, in that case also, if there is another concept, or I would say another tool that is measuring the same concept, even if it is not gold standard, but still it has been widely used. And if the criterion are matching, criterion means, keeping it very simple, I can say, if the sections are matching, you understand, that type of validity is known as instrumental validity. And this is actually the standard way to check for validity. We take the responses on both the tools. Simply, we calculate the correlation coefficient. We have scores or rating from one tool. We have scores or rating from the other tool. We try to take out the correlation between the two. If there is high correlation, we say there is high IV. If there is low correlation, we say that there is low instrumental validity. But one difference which is important to understand here is that there are further two categorizations of IV. One is known as concurrent validity and the other is known as predictive validity. Concurrent means simultaneously you are taking both the measures. Both the measure means आपका अपना scale और कोई gold standard वाला. So concurrent is simultaneously and predictive is doing it in the future. Both depends completely on your suitability. Sometimes it is difficult to do it at the same time. Same time का मतलब same minute second से नहीं है. By same time we means today tomorrow. Sometimes it's even not possible to do it within a day gap or 2 days gap or even a week's gap. Then we have to go in for a future course of testing, that is predictive validity. You understand? So it purely depends on your research. Both are equally good, both are useful. I hope everybody's understanding. Let me take some questions that we have. Hitesh, please explain criterion validity with an example for a questionnaire tool created by us like knowledge, attitude, and questionnaire. It could be any tool. Suppose you have a CAP, knowledge, attitude, and practice tool, and there is another knowledge, attitude, and practice tool that is considered to be a gold standard one that has been widely cited, widely used. You can compare it with that tool. You can use the same tool on same set of individuals and you can compare it with your own established CAP tool. If both are giving the same results, I mean, they are highly correlated, you can say that there is high validity, high criterion related validity. Okay. If the scale is very much new, then there will be no gold standard, then we can't apply IV. Yes. Actually, even if there is no gold standard, I would say there might be some scale which is widely used. Even if you don't get any widely used scale, कोई scale तो होगा जो थोड़ा पहले use हुआ होगा and people would have used it. So rather than just like deciding or not to be using IV, you can use it in that case as well. Uh, but why we would want to test the standard tool? We are not testing a standard tool, Dr. Anupma. We are testing our tool. Our tool has to match with the standard one. Our tool has to have high correlation compared to the standard one. Standard tool is established one. Your has to be good enough. You understand? Tool refers to questionnaire. Yes, of course. Tool, instrument, all of it refers to questionnaire. Is it necessary to establish concurrent validity if content and construct is already established? Uh, Actually, each validity has its own significance, I would say. Content validity is actually useless. Content validity is just for decoration purposes. Content and face validity are just for decoration purposes. You're understanding? So either you should have at least criterion related, any one of the criterion related, or you should have construct. Content and face are just for decoration purposes. Tools and techniques are same or different. Tools and techniques are different. Tool is a way to apply the technique, if I'm right. Yes. Tool is tool are the ways by which you can apply that technique. Okay. Can you explain the second point of this? What is the second point of the slide? It is determined by the relationship between measure and performance on an outside criterion or measure. Outside criterion means an outside tool, like a gold standard tool. This is what it means. Okay, Renu. We have a huge question from somebody, Josephine. Using a risk assessment tool to evaluate children who are at risk of dropping out of school, say in a disaster situation, if the tool correctly predicted who was likely to drop out, then can it be considered to have gold predictive validity? Actually, considering a tool to be gold standard is not based on just one sample size. You understand? The tool has to be widely tested across various different samples. Even if it has correctly predicted for one sample size, like one sample, you understand, it has to be generalized. For a tool to be a gold predictive one, it has to be generalized. Okay. Hitesh, that means we have to record responses using our tool and standard on a small sample and check. Yes, for all these types of validity and reliability, you can do it on a small sample. In fact, will have to do it on a small sample. पूरे सैंपल साइज पे तो आप कर भी नहीं सकते, आप समझ रहे हो, आपका पूरा पैसा उसी में चला जाएगा. So we have now detailed discussion about concurrent validity and predictive validity. तो जो हमने पुराना पढ़ा उसी को we are trying to elaborate further. So I am reading out the example. If a test measures anxiety, it would said to have concurrent if it rightly reflects the current level of anxiety experienced by an individual. So gold standard say if you found out the anxiety level and if your tool also happens to be establishing the correct level, we mean that it is establishing concurrent validity. In diagnostic clinical tests, concurrent validity is only used because predictive तो आप use ही नहीं कर सकते. After a period of time उसकी बीमारी ही बदल जाएगी. आप समझ रहे हो? So you have in medical sciences, if given a choice, you will have to use concurrent validity only. Can you highlight about the data collection process required for both type of IV? It is the same data collection, madam. The only difference is for concurrent validity, it has to be during the same time period. For predictive, it has to be after a certain time in future. Can you explain that again, medical and concurrent? Suppose we are dealing with patient data. Concurrent means at the same time point. So for medical science data, the parameters, the disease, it keeps on changing. So it is not advisable to go for predictive validity. Okay, so there we use concurrent validity. I hope you're understanding, Shruti. Anjana has a question. Is there any other criteria to decide concurrent other than time? No. Concurrent and predictive, the only difference is for time, is of time. Can sensitivity and specificity be used to explain criteria and validity? I haven't seen it, Dr. Rahul. We normally go in for correlations only. So I'm not sure if criterion validity requires sensitivity and specificity. Maybe we can check and see. It's a new question. We have a question from Kismat as well. Suppose I create my own questionnaire to record responses, then this should be checked first on pilot survey data. But here, what is the standard? Is it the literature? Yes, it is the literature review. All actually, whatever we are discussing, all it is a part of literature review, sorry, pilot testing only. Validity, reliability are all part of pilot study. Today, when we were having National Statistics Day celebration, we had statistical officers, Indian statistical servants who were present there, ISS officers, and they have reached up to DDG level and all. And today, one of the concerns there in their lectures was that people are not going in for pilot testing, which happens to be the most integral part of research. Nowadays, people are compromising. You understand? Nowadays, people are compromising on the concept of pilot testing. They just feel like quickly we collect the data, do the analysis, and publish the report, which is absolutely wrong. Pilot testing happens to be an integral part of your research, and validity and reliability are a part of pilot testing only. Okay, so this is about predictive validity. It is at this time point and after a certain time point. If you see the last point, it is written logically. Predictive and concurrent validation are the same. The term concurrent is used to indicate that no time is elapsed between the measures. That's the only difference. Time is the only difference between concurrent and predictive. Sometimes predictive happens to be more valid, and sometimes concurrent happens to be more valid. Now we move to the last, but definitely not the least, and I would say it is the best measure of validity, and that is construct validity. We have discussed about phase, we have discussed about, I'm sorry. We have discussed about phase, we have discussed about criterion related content, but now we come to construct validity. In construct validity, we further classify it into two sections: convergent and divergent. Now, before we discuss what is construct, let us first understand what is convergent and what is divergent validity. If we see what is convergent validity, then I think it's in the next slide, maybe. Yes. It means the extent to which a measure is correlated with another measure, which is theoretically predicted to correlate with. It refers to the extent to which scores on a measure share a high, medium, or low relationship with scores obtained on a different measure intended to assess the similar construct. It is established when the scores obtained with two different instruments measuring the same concept are highly correlated. Actually, convergent and divergent means, suppose I have to measure happiness. I will use a gold standard tool that has been widely used for happiness. Suppose if both are giving exactly same result, which means if the scores are highly correlated, then that type of validity is known as convergent. Means they are on a similar direction. Divergent is just opposite to convergent. In case of divergent validity, or I would say discriminant, actually discriminant and divergent are the same terms, they are interchangeably used. If we use discriminant or divergent validity, here we take a tool that is supposed to measure exactly opposite. Somebody was asking this question, that suppose we don't get a tool that is measuring the, like we don't get a gold standard, तो उसका उल्टा ले लीजिए. You understand? Discriminant or divergent means, suppose you are measuring happiness, you don't have a gold, I'm just giving an example, okay? You don't have a gold standard tool, you take another tool that is measuring sadness, you take out the result, take out the correlation, they should be highly uncorrelated. If they are highly uncorrelated, you will say that your tool is measuring what it intends to measure. So discriminant validity is calculated at times when you don't get a gold standard tool to measure a concept. Very rightly stated, Dr. Rahul. Convergent is actually similar to criterion validity. That is, your IV and convergent validity is the same thing. There are slight difference in the way we record the responses. Maybe when you see the form, how we record the responses, then you'll understand it slightly. There are slight differences in the way the readings are noted. That's all. Conceptually, yes, both of them can be similar, but divergent validity is different. I hope you all are understanding. Divergent is you take a tool that is exactly opposite to the existing one. So both convergent as well as divergent are a part of construct validity. There are ways by which we can establish construct validity, and the most commonly used method is factor analysis. In tomorrow's class, I'll try to do factor analysis also. Actually, EFA and CFA, they are exploratory factor analysis and confirmatory factor analysis. They are very integral part of establishing validity. And in tomorrow's class, I'll explain that how we do it, and I'll also show it to you on SPSS. That is how to establish validity using software. So this is kind of, I would say, summary slide of what we had been discussing throughout this class today. Face and content both are judgmental, both are subjective. However, criterion and construct, both of them are empirical. Empirical means they are based on certain calculations. Criterion has two sections further, which is known as concurrent and predictive, while construct validity is convergent and divergent. Yes, it's a good question. What does judgment refers to? Judgmental is subjective. It depends on the discretion of the reviewer. मेरा मन है तो I would give good remarks. मेरा मन नहीं है, I would not give good remarks. So तभी मैंने बोला that face and content validity are something which should be used as a last resort. Actually, they should just be used for decoration purposes. Graph हम क्यों लगाते हैं? Why do we use graph in our research? We add graphs in our research because we want to make it beautiful. But decisions are always made on the basis of statistical testing. I'm sure many of you, must have tested normality of a data sometime or the other. When we check for normality, then we use various tests and we also use box plot, QQ plot, histogram. We decide on the basis of test, but we add box plot and histograms. So just remember face and content validity are like graphs. But final decision has to be done on the basis of criterion related validity or construct validity. I hope you're understanding. Please give an example for predictive criterion validity. Actually, it's related to aptitude, I would say. Knowledge, attitude, practice, or even if you have to study any person's aptitude towards things, it doesn't change over a period of time. The attitude, aptitude, they don't change over a period of time, right? So in those cases, we can use predictive validity, where we know that something is not going to change with time. अब ऐसा भी नहीं है कि आप साल भर बाद लो. I mean, the time limit has to be reasonable. You understand? So this could be an example, Hitesh. What is pre and post data? Actually, pre means before any intervention and post means after an intervention. Pre means before you've given an intervention and post means after an intervention. If the same questionnaire we have applied to two different geographical area, do I need to calculate the reliability and validity overall or center wise? Actually, it depends on your study title. Suppose your study is based on, say, India, then you have to have a justification as to why you have used Jaipur and Mumbai. Suppose your study itself is based on Jaipur and Mumbai, like your title says that it's a study that's based on Jaipur and Mumbai, then ideally what should be done? There should be a pilot sample that should be taken from Jaipur and there should be a pilot sample that should be taken from Mumbai. You can combine both of them and just present one single estimate of reliability and validity. You can combine the data for both the centers and you can present combined results. That would be fine. So you don't need to do it center wise. Okay. This is again a very beautiful illustration of different types of validity and reliability. This is actually a summary of all our discussion of yesterday and today. I'm sure everybody who's listening to the class would now be familiar with all these terms. Is there anybody जिसको alien जैसा लग रहा होगा ये सारा? Are you people familiar with all these terms that are there on the screen? Split half, internal, parallel form, test, retest, convergent, divergent, concurrent, predictive, face, content. So now you people have learned so much. Is it? So I think that's all from my side about internal validity. There are few things about internal and external. Probably we will be taking this up tomorrow in tomorrow's class. And there I will also show you that how we are going to do it on SPS. Yeah, I'll try to share the slides. Don't worry. Thank you, Dr. Rahul. We have a question from Rigzin that says, is the criteria to consider a tool as gold standard, generalized one, judged on the basis of large sample? It's actually judged on, you know, it's judged on many aspects. It's not only judged on generalized. Of course, it has to be generalized. The paper has to be well cited. It has to be well used. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Anupama. My LinkedIn profile. Okay, I'll share it with you. Otherwise, you can just check. You write my name on Google with Department of Statistics. You'll have my LinkedIn profile. Okay, otherwise you can check me out on Lucknow University's website, Shruti. Suppose we use test retest method of reliability. What could be the right method of validity? Any method of validity. Any method means it has to be either construct or criterion related. Any. You can either use construct or you can use criterion related. Yes, Paresh, I'll take reliability, validity, and factor analysis all on SPSS tomorrow. Tomorrow is a full working day, so it's better to start the class 10 minutes late. I'll try to start the class 5-6 minutes late. Okay. So thank you everybody for bearing with me today as well. I hope I'm not, I hope you people are not bored and interested. So see you again everybody tomorrow. Have a nice remaining Sunday and be prepared for Monday. Dr. Dharmendra, shall I end the class? So I don't think we have anybody from the organizer here. If the participants are fine, then I'm ending the class and see you all tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shambhi, for a wonderful session, and we'll meet tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Dharmendra. Thank you.
Thank you.